Welcome to FiST Chat, your source for news and discussions in film science and technology, hosted by Steve Kern and Ben Warner. Visit our website at fistchat.com.
Hi there everyone, and welcome to a new episode of FiST Chat where we talk about all things film science and technology related. My name's Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Hi, FiST Chat fans. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Been over a month since we've recorded a FiST Chat, so been a bit busy though with Easter, Mother's Day and a whole range of other bits and pieces, but it's good to be back online and getting into it.
Pardon me. Yes, it is. It is good to be back.
Absolutely. Now, today's topic, is an extension of what we were talking about last time to do with, we were talking about the high price of cinema tickets, and maybe feeding into this, and this is something that I think is actually quite exciting, is this idea of platformless content, where, it doesn't matter what device you're using or what forum you're in, you can just access whatever content you want at any time at your choosing. So what sort of spurred this is that I came across a YouTube clip of Kevin Spacey giving a talk at the Edinburgh Television Festival last year, where he was where he was talking about House of Cards, which is actually a good example of what we're talking about here. And the way sort of TV's traditionally put up and the way it gets funded and how they find shows that are successful, and maybe how going forward is going to be a bit different. But what was really interesting was that at one point, and I'm paraphrasing, is that he was sort of getting quite animated and saying, what does it matter if you watch Avatar on your iPad, Game of Thrones on your computer, the latest cinema release on your TV, or you watch a soccer match at the cinema? People want control of their content, and if all of the problem is there's just such a delineation at the moment between each of these platforms. They're controlled by a different industry all on their own, in effect, and unless there's sort of communication between the two, it would be difficult to make that happen. But in theory, you would think that would be kind of a user utopia there for content, because if you can imagine, you could have access to any movie or TV show wherever you want, whenever you want, on whatever platform you want it on. That sounds brilliant to me.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think what we're talking about here is, old business models that are coming to the end of their lives. So, you go to the cinema apparently to watch blockbusters. Wasn't always the way. So, as far back as the 50s, people would go and watch the news at the cinema because there wasn't the TV. And we were talking about this before with regards to smart television and tablets. I don't know why anyone would want to watch, some blockbuster films on a tablet, but that aside, you may. And you might equally want to watch something on your big screen, Ultra HD, whatever it is. You need that interface. The old model is that I buy a TV, the TV does it all.
Yeah.
You actually don't need the TV to do it anymore if you have an interface, if you have a central interface. And I think that that's the next big step. It's a bit, I think, especially for on-demand viewing, whatever comes next will be as big as the VHS or the DVD, in the fact that it's universal. You take that content, any player, you put it into the player, and then you watch, except it'll be universal in what format, what screen, what location.
Is it similar to, say, music in that sense, where I guess Apple kicked off that part of things in
with
terms
the iPod,
with the mainstream side of things, where you just download it, and you can put it onto an iPod. But the idea is that you can wirelessly stream it to any speaker that obviously can do it. Most speakers these days have some sort of Bluetooth connection anyway.
That's right.
And you can just go around and you can listen to it in your car, you can listen to it at home, you can listen to it in a speaker in somebody else's house, and it just travels with you. But music's a bit easier to kind of do that, I guess, because
it takes less bandwidth.
Yeah.
So the big thing for your films, even on TV in the old days, was you needed a big tower to put the signal out to get that bandwidth. That's been shrinking and shrinking. Obviously, the technology around video and the codecs that code for the vision have become more and more efficient. So now it is a lot more possible, especially because we've got better networks, to make what Kevin Spacey's talking about happen. But at what point, it's a bit like they've had the capacity to go to digital cinemas for over 10 years.
Yeah.
At what point will everyone say, well, look, really all I need is a screen?
Yeah.
My choice of ecosystem or my small device that governs all my entertainment, wherever it is, it could even be cloud-based, is all I need. So you may well go into a cinema to watch the soccer. You may well go into a cinema to watch, I don't know, a royal opening of some place somewhere else. These would all be things that could be offered.
Well, interesting that you mentioned the soccer. I actually went to see Godzilla last night, which is a film worth watching. Actually, they actually did it right, so and makes good full use of the big screen experience. But that aside, before the film started, the cinema put on an ad selling tickets to watch games for the upcoming World Cup soccer at the cinema. So in maybe some sense, it may be starting to go down that road already, because obviously the cinema that I was in fully digital, so there's no reason why.
You couldn't do that with an old projector, could you?
That's right. So there's no reason why they couldn't beam the feed or whatever straight into the cinema, because in effect that's what you'd be doing at home, either streaming it or off free to air or wherever it's coming through. So that would be an amazing experience. That if they supply like a surround sound audio setup, it'd be like you're almost there.
Well, yeah, and look, the logical extension of this is, you know, people love to binge on their favourite TV shows.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't a cinema just say, we're going to play all 8 hours worth of a particular series today?
Yeah.
Come along.
Well, they do
Enjoy
that.
the cinema.
They do that with movie marathons. For example, Star Wars had 2 movie marathons on the 4th of May, I think it was here. I think it was around, it might have been in quite a few countries around the world too, where they screened the 2 trilogies, each film one after another. So that's a 6 to 7 hour or even 8 hour event for you to sit through. So it's like you said, why can't they do that with TV shows as well?
And the natural next step is at complete odds with the time-honoured Hollywood model. So you used to make a film, and then the idea was by the time you made all those prints in 35mm and distributed them out to your market, to whatever the area was, you had to then have how many weeks, 6 weeks, how many sessions, all those calculations to make your money back. Now that film can be released at a touch of a button. But there's no need for it to be a 6-week season. It could go on for 12 months. You only need one screening, a week, because none of the same business models or cost models exist. So what do you see that doing to cinema, Ben?
It's hard.
The Hollywood model.
Well, it's hard to tell, but you could imagine that it would impact on, say, the ultra mega budget film that needs to recoup as much cash as possible, unless they change the model in which they recoup that money, because they know how to recoup the money now with the old model. But that's actually an interesting issue. There's 2 things that I think this could lead to, is that on the one hand, there could be an opportunity for a lot more interesting content to be produced, because it's almost a platform to bring back those medium and lower tier type productions that seem to have been phased out in the last decade or so, and there's the opportunity for that to occur. Whether more independents can get in as well, and the thing is, independents would traditionally stick with just doing a film because that's all they could afford to do. What about the rise of, say, like an independent television show or an independent television series? That type of thing seems to me to be quite interesting and possible. But the flip side is the old business model could generate a lot of profit for the, say Hollywood or whatnot. Are they going to be comfortable with the idea that, at the moment, if you, for example, buy a TV show off of iTunes or Amazon or whichever platform you're using, we said this last week, you pay for it once, you can watch it as many times as you like. Are they going to be happy with that? Because the old business model, you had to pay each time you saw it. So they may have to cop a whack there in order to make this happen.
Well, and the other thing is as well, just extending it back to you can have a viewing with 12 friends at home. You can have a party and you only pay your $6 for 12 of you to see the film or binge on the whole TV series over a weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they recoup that. They can do it device by device, but they can't do it screen by screen.
They may just have to do it as try and get more people in to buy that, because audiences have been diminishing for cinema for some time. So this may be a way to get more people back in, and if they get more people back in, then they'll make the money from turnover as opposed to profit per ticket kind of thing.
Do you think that there's any room then for Hollywood to diversify?
Well, I would have thought so, because you'd think this could go to like niche markets, that there'd be more scope to do, say, a lower budget type film or TV show that hits a very specific market.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the cost of distributing it just is gone, because you just press a button and it's there.
Yep. But I mean, what will be very interesting to see is how they control that. Obviously, they will control. If you want to get Hollywood blockbusters at your cinema, then you got to do things our way. I'm sure will be the business model to try and lock things down. But it'd be very interesting to see if we move away from the traditional distribution model, and what impact that has, particularly, territory by territory.
Well, I think just finally that's the sticking point. There's probably no reason why this couldn't be done right now. The reason it's going to take 20 years to implement is to get over that business model. And basically,
like the digital cinemas.
Basically, it's just going to have to either be close to failing or just outright fail in terms of not generating the revenue that they want, and then it'll change. And I guess, that's what we'll have to sit with. I'd like to have this sort of thing happening right now, but, unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen for a while.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we might move now on to our news bites, and sort of changing tack a little bit in the sense that all the news bites are focusing around that Commission of Audit that we had here in Australia that announced to tackle Australia's budgetary problems. And of course, we've already had the budget, so some things in the audit report aren't necessarily relevant, but I thought that these would be interesting just to cover, just in terms of, because they do hit film science and technology as well. This one, I think, did make it into the budget. Screen Australia cuts would decimate film industry, from The Australian. The Oscar-winning Australian producer of The King's Speech believes the Commission of Audit's recommendation to slash Screen Australia funding would decimate the industry. And this is really just... I think the film industry in Australia has always suffered from this problem, particularly, maybe especially in modern times, with whenever you get a conservative government in, that's one of the first places they go to start cutting. It's just that in this occasion, I think it's a bit more severe than maybe in previous occasions. I don't know. The state of the film industry has never really sort of picked up all that well anyway. They've never sort of recouped that sort of golden era of the 70s where Australian film really took off. But I guess it doesn't help to have, say, 40 million cut out of your budget when so little is spent on Australian film anyway.
Yeah. Look, it's one of those things, and it's a very tough thing. I mean, I think Australia's just never achieved a balance between sort of public investment in film and private investment, and it's always been structured as so. So you had this glorious time in the 70s where the cost of producing films in Australia were cheap. You had incredibly good talent, and, effectively with the low costs, you could actually make these films, and they had markets to go to. Yeah. You could make money in Australia. Sadly, today, most Australian films don't make any money, and they're subsidised through Screen Australia grants. And while that's great because it keeps the skills base going in Australia, it supports the industry and it makes it happen, the downside is that you don't really get any opportunity for anyone outside of that model to have a go, because they can't access the sales markets, they can't access the support. So genuine independence is stuck outside the system. By comparison, you go to Hollywood where, we don't have to tell everyone that's one of the most ruthless environments on earth.
Yeah.
There's no government support there, no public funding there. They make huge movies with budgets that nobody in this country could even begin to imagine. So they're the two extremes. They're basically the two extremes, and they have their positives and their negatives between them. I think the thing would be that I would want to see if any government hacks into Screen Australia is, well, then put in some sort of encouragement or some sort of capacity or mechanism for people then that are forced to go outside the traditional Australian model and have a go. But I don't see them doing that.
No, not in the current environment anyway.
No.
All right, our science news bite, also from the Australian. The audit leaves science seeking a plan. The Commission of Audit's recommendations on science and research don't amount to a plan and are short on details, the Academy of Science has warned. Is this just more... I don't know. Are we getting a sense that the audit didn't go into great detail in researching what it was cutting?
Well, this is very interesting. You don't want to politicise, I guess, the findings of the audit or something. But the one thing that I didn't pick up on is, like, I'm all for cuts. I like a good slasher film as much as the next person. So more blood, more gore, more horror, fantastic as far as I'm concerned. But you always got to give the protagonist or the people that are facing Jack the Ripper, you got to give them some sort of exit strategy. And I just don't see any exit strategies in these films. They're just like, the opening scene where someone will get slashed and that's it, roll credits.
So, but is there an issue with science funding in Australia generally?
There always has been. So this doesn't change anything.
So it just means there's less, in other words.
Well, it just means it's less, just means it's a bit of a tougher time. I mean, Australia does very well in science, and it's not really any particular government's fault. It's just we've got a lack of infrastructure and we've had a lack of good policy that supports it. So if you look at what the UK are doing now and what the US do, once again, through their laissez-faire, through the fact they've got people that want to take, with buckets of money, that want to take risks.
Yeah.
That's where the US's strength is, whether it's film or science. If you've got a good idea, they'll get you to market.
Yeah.
And they'll take a risk. And in this country, for our science, we don't really have that. And the UK is starting to do it now. So, do you need to spend more money? I don't know. Do you need to have programs which help get your good science into a workable commercial business proposition? Yes, you do.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, our tech news bite, also from the Australian. Audit Commission pushes big data. Federal government agencies must rapidly improve their use of big data and analytics to boost everything from fraud detection to policy development, according to the Commission of Audit. In what could lead to a bonanza for IT firms with a big data story, the audit recommended today that major departments be compelled to develop plans to maximise the use of their own data and accelerate the publishing of anonymised data for general use. I don't want to. We'll leave the conspiracy theory part of it aside. It's no sort of surprise that a government would be interested in data, and also particularly in this day and age where so much data is being generated by each of us and can be collated in some way.
Look, once again, big data is here to stay. People probably don't realise big data does a lot of great things for us as a community. It's actually used quite well 99% of the time, and it provides you with better services. It provides all of us with better lifestyles. The flip side is that, the government knows something about you. Ever since Google knew everything about me, I don't care what the government knows. It ain't a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're right out of time, so we might wrap it up there. Thanks again, Steve, for the chat.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, FiST Chat fans. Very good to be back. Look forward to next week.
Absolutely. Don't forget our website, fistchat.com. You can get all of our links there. We've got our ebook, The FiST Report, at fistreport.com, only 99 cents. We've got two years worth of books available there, and they help to support the show. We've also got our weekly blogs, photography on Instagram and Flickr, and if you think anyone's interested in our weekly ramblings on film science and technology, then feel free to send them to our website. We'd greatly appreciate that. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.